Good evening, everyone. I am Clifton Lewis, your MC for this evening. Welcome to this virtual candidate forum presented by the Bartow Chamber of Commerce and Main Street, Bartow. We are coming to you from Main Street Baptist Church here in Bartow, Florida, and want to thank the church for the use of its facility as well as their technology that has made this event possible. I would like to thank Laura Simpson, our technical manager, for her expertise. More than 50 questions were submitted by Bartow citizens for tonight's event. Far too many to cover in the 1-hour time slot. Therefore, the questions were sorted as to subject matter, resulting in the 10 questions we will pose to each candidate. The final questions take into account what was submitted and was presented in a way that afforded each candidate the opportunity to address each question in a fair and unbiased way. Please note, the Chamber and Main Street will present an in-person forum tomorrow evening at 6:30 p.m. on Central Avenue between Main and Summerlin Street. Again, there will be an in-person forum tomorrow night, Friday, at 6:30 p.m. on Central Avenue between Main and Summerlin Street. That event on Friday night will allow citizens an opportunity to engage one-on-one with the candidates on specific issues. So if you do not hear your concern addressed tonight, please know that you may be able to present it to the candidates in person tomorrow night on Central Avenue. Our format for tonight will allow each candidate the opportunity to respond to questions regarding the following. Question number 1. Why each candidate believes they are the voter's best choice. Number 2, issues of public safety. Number 3, code enforcement. 4, infrastructure. 5, amenities. 6, diversity. 7, communication. 8, the COVID-19 pandemic. Number 9, quality of life. And number 10, city commissioner requirements. Each of these 10 questions will be presented to each of the candidates for their answers. In order to cover the topics, we ask each candidate to limit their responses to 90 seconds, that is a minute and a half, except for the first question, for which you will be given 3 minutes to answer. At the end of each segment, at least 30 seconds before the end of each question, you will hear a bell. Know that at this signal, you have 30 seconds left to respond. This election, to be held on Tuesday, April the 6th, will decide 2 commission seats, the commission's at-large seat and the Central District seat. First, the candidates for the at-large seat include Charlie Billinger, Sal Carter, James F. Clements, and Tanya Tucker. Please note that Mr. Billinger could not be with us tonight. Now, these 3 candidates, Sal Carter, James Clements, and Tanya Tucker, will appear first, and then they will be followed by the candidates for the central seat that includes Wesley Harbing and Scott Schablum. So let's get started with the at-large candidates. For question number 1, which is a 3-minute response time, we will begin at the far end of the table with Ms. Tucker. Ms. Tucker, why should the citizens of Bartow give you their vote?
Um, Hi, Bartow. I'm Tanya Tucker, and as you know, I'm running for the at-large seat. And the reason why I think that you should vote for me is because I have a lot of experience that I can bring to the commission. I've worked for Polk County government for 21 years, and I have experience in things that the city needs help with. Simple things like environmental issues, historical preservation, construction, housing, code enforcement, grant writing, disaster recovery, procurement processes. I'm not a politician. I lived in Bartow my entire life. I'm fifth generation Bartow. I just love this city, and I feel like it's my duty to bring any knowledge or anything that I can bring to the city to better it. I feel like that's my duty. And I ask for your vote on April 6th.
Same question for Mr. Clements. Why should citizens of Bartow give you their vote?
Thank you, Cliff. Good evening and thanks to the Bartow Chamber.
Mike.
Yeah, the mic. Okay. Good evening and thanks to the Bartow Chamber and Main Street Bartow for sponsoring this forum. I was born and raised in Bartow. I graduated with honors from Bartow High School. I went on to the University of Florida and received a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. Returned to Bartow in 1985. I've always had a servant leader's heart and have held leadership positions in numerous community organizations. I'm a graduate of Bartow Leadership 2 and Leadership Polk 6. One of my proudest accomplishments was receiving the George W. Harris Leadership Award for outstanding leadership and service to my community. And my fellow commissioners in my time on the commission have elected me mayor 3 times. When I was first elected to the city commission, the city of Bartow was $2 million in the red. We now have many million dollars in surplus and have made many improvements to the city. Since I was elected, your property taxes have been reduced by over 30%. Your electric rates have been reduced to some of the lowest in the state, and I led the team that kept garbage out of the Cedar Trail landfill, which is in the city limits. I have fans and critics alike, but I have always strived to do what is best for Bartow. I'm only one of 5 commissioners, and although we don't always agree on everything, we have a good working relationship and respect each other always. A city commissioner can bring new ideas to the table, but it takes the agreement of 2 other commissioners to get started or approved. We as a commission hired George Long to run our city, and he has done an excellent job. Not all agree with that statement because they just don't understand what all is involved in running a city. George is forward-looking and watching out for the future of Bartow. Examples are our $20 million expansion to our wastewater plant, $2.5 million improvement to the water plant. He works diligently on the Polk Water Co-op board to keep Bartow's water interest in mind. We have the citywide master plan, which is 80% complete. We're in the 4th year of a 7-year plan to repave all the streets in Bartow, and only 2 times have the electric rates been reduced in the history of Bartow Electric, and both occurred since I've been on the city commission. Much work has been accomplished, but much more is in the works. Our broadband and smart metering program is coming along. We hope to start on it by the end of the year. I own my own business, and I can devote as much time as is needed to be a city commissioner. I have the experience that is needed to continue to make Bartow a great place to live, and I ask for your support and your vote on April 6th.
Thank you. Same question, Mr. Carter. Why should the citizens of Bartow give you their vote?
Good evening, Bartow. My name is Sal Carter. I am running for Bartow City Commission Seat 1. I'm a lifelong resident of Bartow, an entrepreneur, and a youth mentor. I'm running for the City Commission because I love the city and the people in this community. Bartow continues to experience growth opportunities, and a rise. I contribute to maintain the quality of values to that this city instills by being a youth mentor who is very community and church oriented and pro law enforcement, pro public service. Have gotten to know many Bartow residents by being open, honest, and listening and learning. I also bring to the table multiple experiences from owning my own businesses and taking multiple classes. If you elect me to be the next commissioner for Seat 1, I will pledge to remain open, honest, open, and transparent during this time. I ask for you on April the 6th to vote for Sal Carter.
Thank you, candidates. Now we'll go to question number 2, and we will begin with Mr. Clements. This question has to do with public service. Public safety is vital to any community. How do you view Bartow's present level of police and fire protection? And what, if any, changes do you recommend? Mr. Clements.
Thank you, Clifton. Our police department was accredited by the state police accreditation people back in October. That is something that our department has been striving for a long time. We have lost a lot of experience to retirement in our police department in the last few years, and we are striving to hire experienced police officers and have done so recently. Bartow is in the midst of some of the lowest crime rates that have ever been. And I think our police chief, who is, it's an interim police chief right now, Brian Dorman, has been doing a really good job, and we advertise for his job, and we are taking applications, but I am one that will support him to be the police chief. Our fire department, we need more firemen in the fire department. We have plans to build a second fire station in the next few years, and that will help make all of Bartow safe. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clements. Same question, Mr. Carter. I'll repeat. Public safety is vital to any community. How do you Bartow's present level of police and fire protection, and what, if any, changes do you recommend?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Coming from public safety and having many years' experience in public safety, the current level of public safety from the police department to the fire department is both agencies are way underpaid, understaffed. They need better equipment. They need better incentives for retention, and with that comes better pay. You retain more officers and cut down turnover by increasing pay and increasing incentives to keep officers there. Like Mr. Clemens said, we have lost multiple officers due to retirement. That's why we work and have a career. So let's give these individuals that provide service to our city and protection to our city incentives to stay with the agency and stay with the city to keep the city safe. If I'm elected for the seat, I will fight for increasing wages for both fire department and police department, better equipment, better housing, better buildings, and better education incentives. Thank you.
Ms. Tucker, I'll repeat. How do you view Bartow's present level of police and fire protection, and what, if any, changes do you recommend?
Thank you, Clifton. So public safety is something, I work in public safety with the Board of County Commissioners. I'm the code enforcement manager for the county, so I'm very familiar with what it takes. And I think that our police department and fire department do one heck of a job for what they have available to them and what they have to work with. I would like to see them. I know they have some issues with staffing and retention in both areas. I know that we probably need, I was doing some figuring, and we need probably at least 11 more police officers and about 12 more firefighters, so to cover the city adequately. I feel that one of our biggest issues is the pay scale. A beginning PD starts out at $35,000, and I don't know about you, but I don't think I would risk my life for $35,000. And these young generations that's coming in, they don't care about the benefits package. They need the money in the pocket, and they need a career ladder. That's how you keep your retention, is making a career ladder and giving them something to stay for. And if we fight for them, they'll fight for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tucker. Now, the third question, the first respondent will be Mr. Carter. It has to do with code enforcement. Code enforcement is important to the general upkeep of homes and businesses. How does Bartow ensure a standard of property maintenance that protects property values and supports the overall appeal of Bartow? Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. So from my understanding, in that area, everything has been outsourced because we don't have a current code enforcement employee. And I feel that that could be taken care of by hiring a respectable individual to maintain that in that department and bringing that department back up on its feet so everything can be taken care of, and saving money by having an individual that works for the city instead of outsourcing it. And with that, the city can be enforced, codes can be enforced within the city much better.
Thank you. The same question, Mr. Clements. Code enforcement is important to the general upkeep of homes and businesses. How does Bartow ensure a standard of property maintenance that protects property values and support the overall appeal of Bartow?
Well, a couple years ago, the city commission decided to eliminate the code enforcement board and go to a magistrate system, which has worked much better. It gives the city's code enforcement officers the power to go ahead and just write a ticket similar to a speeding ticket or a traffic fine, depending on what the case may be. As Sal alluded to, we recently lost one of our code enforcement officers, and I think we need to diligently seek employment of 2 or 3 code enforcement officers and cover the city more thoroughly than we're doing now. It has been hard for one code enforcement officer to do that, so I think we should hire some more, and I think we'll be better off.
Ms. Tucker, how does Bartow ensure a standard of property maintenance that protects property values and supports the overall appeal of Bartow?
Okay, thank you, Clifton. Like I said, I am the manager of Polk County Code Enforcement, so I am very familiar with code enforcement processes. And the issue that I see here in Bartow is, one, we don't have enough officers to cover the city of Bartow. We had one who's no longer with us, so now we're down to none. I would like to at least see 2 investigators for the city of Bartow, and I would like to see equal enforcement. So if you divide the city in half and give each one of them a jurisdiction to cover, I think you'll get adequate coverage, and the laws and the codes should be enforced equally across the board for everyone. The magistrate process is a great tool. It's been very effective. We also use that in the county. Also, a demand for removal ordinance and really enforce that. That is where we go and clean up these properties and put those liens on their tax bill, and so the city doesn't lose that money. But that is something that I would like to try to work on with the city, because it has been neglected and our city is paying the price for it now.
Thank you. Okay, this next question will begin with Mr. Clements. It has to do with infrastructure. What do you feel are the biggest infrastructure needs for Bartow, Mr. Clements?
Well, currently we are in the 4th year of a 7-year project. We're spending over $1 million a year over that 7 years to repave all of the streets, the curbs and sidewalks that need demoing and repouring. We're doing that in areas that need it. As far as infrastructure goes, I guess you would include our broadband fiber ring that we currently have. We've had since the early 90s. The City Commission has plans to upgrade and expand that fiber optic network. That will lead to smart meterings. It will lead to 1 gig speeds for internet for our citizens. It will prevent the type of thing that we had last night where Comcast went out, their service went out for much of the city, and we missed all of our Chicago shows last night, and Verizon Wireless, their internet was jammed because everybody was on their smartphones talking about it. So we are working diligently to get our consultant hired to get the fiber optic system upgraded and expanded, and will be better for all the citizens.
Thank you. Mr. Carter, same question. What do you feel are the biggest infrastructure needs for Bartow?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Our biggest infrastructure needs for Bartow is our parks and recs facilities need to be updated and upgraded. I know we're currently have been told that they're working on it, but there's no need for the parks and recs to get the way that they are. We don't have a soccer field. Our parks are outdated. They haven't been updated. We spent so much money on other things, and the youth is the future of the city. And we currently have families that have reached out to me saying that they don't have anywhere for their children to play. They don't have anywhere for soccer teams to practice. They don't feel safe taking kids to parks because they're not upkept. So our biggest infrastructure is the parks and recs and the facilities. We don't have a pool this summer due to the pool need to be repairing, and they're questioning the underlying pipes of the pool, and there's no reason of that. And communication, like citizens don't know anything about that, and they haven't known anything about it until now. And I feel that if the citizens are the city, the citizens should have known this, so actions could have taken place. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Tucker, the same question. What do you feel are the biggest infrastructure needs for Bartow?
The biggest infrastructure needs that I see for Bartow is, one, obviously, a better internet service. I know that we are in the process of getting fiber optics throughout the city. That is a very expensive project, but I think it's much needed, because if we don't expand our infrastructure with, our fiber optics, businesses are not going to want to come to Bartow. Right now, you have several businesses that can't even function because they have no internet service, and people can't make purchases at their businesses, and they can't pay their rent if people can't buy stuff from them. So, businesses have no incentive to come here if we can't help serve them with proper infrastructure, internet connections. The second thing is our water lines in Bartow are need repair. They're crumbling. There's parts of the city that have old piping that needs to be replaced, and you have to think about how that affects not only the growth of Bartow and the citizens, but even like public safety. If your firefighters can't get water, they can't service the community and keep us safe. So those are the two things that I see as main issues, is the fiber optic issue as well as the water lines and sewer lines in the city.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. This next question is very similar to the current question of infrastructure. This next one has to do with amenities. Amenities can make or break a community. They create spaces that allow citizens and families to bond, creating an enhanced quality of life. How do you rate Bartow's amenities This would include parks and recreational venues. And what improvement do you see as priorities? Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Just like Mr. Lewis said, it does tie into the last question. And like I stated, the city right now lacks the amenities to effectively, they failed to provide effective amenities for the city, from parks and recs to the swimming pool, even restaurants. We have the same restaurants, and the city's growing, and that's something that we can't stop. There's a meeting Monday talking about annexing 60 plus more acres in the city limits. How can you do that if you don't have any amenities for the city? And everybody's having to drive to different cities to play ball, different sports and everything. So, like I said before, we need to get our fields and everything updated and keep them upkeep and everything, which requires to spend adequate amount of money, and there's no need that it hasn't been done, and there's no reason that it hasn't been done. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Same question, Ms. Tucker. Amenities, they create space and allow citizens and families to bond. How do you rate the amenities in Bartow? Ms. Tucker.
Thank you. Currently, I think we're lacking in amenities in Bartow. Our parks are deplorable right now, and that is at no fault of city staff. They are working 4 staff members on every park in Bartow, and that's just insane. We have got to get staffing, equipment to maintain what facilities we have, and I'm also concerned about similar things as Mr. Carter stated. With the soccer fields, they are playing in a parking lot right now. That should never happen. We have a facility. We need to fix the facility. We don't need to wait years down the road for something else to come up, a sports complex or whatever. We need a solution now. These kids are the future of Bartow, and if they have no reason to stay here, they won't. One of the children spoke at the last meeting about how he was embarrassed to play in Bartow. That's not acceptable. We have to do better for our kids, and we have to do better for our residents. Everybody uses the parks. So if we can't upkeep them, nobody's going to move here to look at rusty equipment and holes and broken fences, and it's just not going to happen. We have to do better.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Mr. Clemens, the same question. How do you rate the amenities in the city of Bartow?
Well, as far as Parks and Rec, the city of Bartow has more acres of parks per capita than any other city in the county. Not many people know that. Yes, some of our parks do need some work. The soccer fields, we have limped along and made do with those substandard soccer fields at Mary Holland Park. We had a crowd come to the city commission meeting this past Monday night complaining about them, just wanting them mowed. But I went out there myself and looked at them, and the fields are still wet. We have had some winter rains, and they have kept those fields wet, and the gumbo clay that is on the top, the equipment to get in there and mow those fields would it would be almost impossible. They'd get stuck. We do need to put more money into maintenance of these fields, and I have brought a proposal to the city commission about some property that is owned by a state agency just north of Bartow. There's 200 acres there that we could go and build a new civic center, a new aquatic center, soccer fields, other ball fields, and it'd be a great thing for our citizens.
Thank you, Mr. Clemens. That concludes the first set of questions. Now we'll start on question number 6. This one has always been important, but in these days it takes on increasing importance and urgency indeed, the question of diversity. What are your ideas on promoting unity and diversity in Bartow? We will start with Ms. Tucker.
Thank you, Clifton. So diversity is very important for the success of our city. I've always stated when people have asked me about this question in the past, my vision is that there's no distinct lines in Bartow. You shouldn't know if you're on the east side, the west side, or whatever side you're on. We should look and work together as a community, build our communities, work with our fellow neighbors. I would also like to see some events held that promotes diversity and equality throughout our city, because we have to do this together or we'll fall apart. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That Mr. Carter, the same question. What are your ideas on promoting unity and diversity in Bartow?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. My ideas for promoting diversity and unity in Bartow is that the fact we need to form a diversity committee, get some intake from and insight from the citizens, get the citizens more involved. Like Ms. Tucker said, the city shouldn't be divided on the east side and the west side, or this subdivision or that subdivision. We need to have more engagement from the communities and the cities and work towards more diversity, and effective equality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Carter. Mr. Clements, the same question. What are your ideas on promoting unity and diversity in Bartow?
Well, I've lived here most all my life, except for some time during college and a couple years after college. I think that Bartow perceives that it is a very diverse community, but I think the reality of it is that some folks that are black have not had the same chances. We have, during the upheaval and the tragedies of last summer, we started diversity and justice work sessions amongst the City Commission, and we have decided to hire a consultant to come in and help Bartow become a more diverse community. I understand that I do not understand what it is to be black, but I want to be there to try to help all citizens in Bartow feel welcome and deserving of the same opportunities.
Thank you. This next question will start with Mr. Carter. Strong communication in government creates trust and transparency in its citizens. How can the city of Bartow improve its communications in order to inspire citizens to become engaged in the community and feel confident that their concerns matter?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Currently, I feel that the city lacks in communication amongst the citizens. Even though information is posted to the city's website, there's no social media person to post things on social media. It's the 21st century, and a lot of people have social media, but there's also a lot of people that doesn't have social media. We need to get someone in. The city likes to say consultants, but I mean, it could be easily taken on by hiring an employee to run social media, get information out there and to the public, to the citizens of Bartow, so they can engage. Start coming to more city commissioner meetings, start coming to the committee meetings, being involved in your city so you know what's going on, so when things happen, the citizens won't be blindsided. Thank you.
All right. Ms. Tucker, again, how can the city of Bartow improve its communications in order to inspire citizens to become engaged in the community and feel confident that their concerns matter? Ms. Tucker.
Thank you. So I think the key to good government is transparency and communication with the citizens. I feel that we definitely need a communications director for the city to get that information out there in the most effective, efficient, professional way possible. Meetings, commission meetings, code enforcement meetings, planning meetings, all of those meetings should be televised or at least online for the public to be a part of and see what the commissioners and stuff that are making these decisions, they need to know what's going on. And right now, we don't have that. And people get their information from basically Facebook, and that's not sufficient. So we need to work on getting those things out there to the community. And as for them being heard, you have to follow up. When people come to you with stuff, you have to follow up and let them know that you hear them and you're working on their issues to get them resolved or at least get them an answer.
Thank you, Ms. Tucker. Mr. Clemens, how can the city of Bartow improve its communications?
There are funds included in the current fiscal year budget for the city to hire a communications director, and the city manager was negotiating with a candidate to do that, and something else came up, and they took another job. So we're diligently working on hiring a communications director. We are getting quotes on installing new cameras in the commission chambers so that our meetings can be streamed. Facebook is just not a very good forum to publish municipal information because not everybody gets on Facebook. As we go along and we get our new fiber optic network, a lot more people will be able to get online and watch. We relied on Comcast to broadcast that for many years, and the lines coming in became so antiquated and broken that they just quit doing it. So we definitely need a new solution, and we're working on it.
Thank you, Mr. Clemens. This next one is very timely as well. We are approaching a one-year anniversary of the COVID-19 reaching Bartow. As a city commissioner, what would be your recommendations on moving forward to promote community safety? Ms. Tucker.
I think we all have a responsibility during this pandemic. I do believe that the city is trying to do the right thing and keep everyone safe, but we do have to open the city back up at some point. I think it comes to a point where a lot of this is dictated too by our governor and his orders, but I think we all have to just take responsibility for our own health and safety and open the city back up when it's time. I think that we could offer some, clinics and things of that nature that would also help with some of the issues that we're experiencing. But those would be things that I would look forward to.
Thank you. Mr. Carter, what would be your recommendation on moving forward to promote community safety in this pandemic atmosphere?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. My recommendation for the city during the COVID-19 pandemic is that everyone has to take their personal safety and the matters in their own hands. You have to remain safe and take your own precautions that you feel safe. As for the city, it's time for the city to open back up. As long as we follow the guidelines and the orders by the governor and keep going from there. With the city being closed, It keeps families and activities out of the city, and so with the city opening up, brings more revenue for the city, and life can get back to normal.
Thank you. Mr. Clemens, same question. What is your recommendation on moving forward to promote community safety?
Well, just today, this afternoon, it was reported another 5,093 cases of COVID in the state of Florida, and 99 more people passed away. So we've made much progress on getting past this pandemic. The City Commission established an emergency management committee that has met every Monday since this thing started over a year ago. That consisted of the city manager, the police chief, the fire chief, city attorney, and numerous other folks. And they consulted very closely with the state and the county emergency management. And we have erred on the side of caution in the city of Bartow. While we did not enact a mandatory mask requirement, we have, back during the summer, we sent, I believe it was 6 very high quality masks out to each household in the city. And I still see people wearing those every day. So we just need to remain cautious and listen to the experts. Get your COVID vaccine. I've had my first one, and I'm going to have my second one in a couple of weeks. So it's very important that we get through this and get past this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clemens. We're down to our last 2 structured questions. This next one will begin with Mr. Carter on quality of life. Young families are the future of our community. What does the city of Bartow need to do in order to attract and retain young families? Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. So what I feel that the city needs to do to attract and retain young families of the city is to, one, like I said earlier, is to update the parks and recs facilities and everything, so, and amenities, so we have something that will retain the young families and have something for the children, because they're the future. They're our future of the city. They're the youth and the future of our city. And also, if the youth have something to do, it keeps them out of trouble, which keeps the crime rate down. Also, I feel that opportunities should be published and presented to the families, if it's from sporting leagues to other opportunities from councils or growth, so young families, even youth, can get involved, and to encourage the citizens to be more involved with the city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Tucker, what does the city of Bartow need to do in order to attract and retain young families?
To get young families to come to Bartow, you have to offer them something. And I think, when you have growing families, they're looking for good schools, youth activities for their children, family activities, things that they can do together. We're not there yet. We have a lot of work to do to get those up to par. We need activities for our kids, like Mr. Carter said, that that youth is our future, and if we are not going to bring things to them, they're not going to stay. Families are now already going to Lakeland and Winter Haven and other areas to play sports and things of that nature, because we just don't offer it. We don't offer the same things that some of the other cities do, and it's not that expensive to do that. We just have to demand better.
Thank you very much. Mr. Clemens, what does the city of Bartow need to do in order to attract and retain young families?
Well, recently we have approved new developments with what has been termed as workforce housing, which I think more so people move to Bartow. Like I said before, our our taxes, our ad valorem taxes, or property taxes, as some know, are the lowest tax rate in the county. When I was elected, it was over 4.5%. Now it's 3.09, which that's a cut of over 30% in your property taxes. Also, utility rates. Our electric rates are some of the lowest in the state now. Our city commission and city manager have been diligent in finding cheaper power and developing our solar farm that's here in Bartow. We're partnering with other cities and the Florida Municipal Electric Association so that our electric rates will be even less. So I think amenities are great, but it's secondary. People are looking for a place that they can live and not have to spend a whole lot of money on their house, their taxes, and their electric.
Thank you. And this final question, and you're doing a wonderful job as far as time is concerned. We're getting near the end. We'll begin this question with Ms. Tucker. The city clerk has estimated that a city commissioner should spend an average of 20 to 25 hours every month for non-regular meeting activities. 20 to 25 hours every month for non-regular meeting activities. Will you be able to devote the time that it takes to be an effective city commissioner? And what will be your top priority, Ms. Tucker?
Yes, I have the time to dedicate to being on the city commission. If I didn't, I would not have even decided to run. I take everything that I start very seriously, and I don't start things that I can't finish. So you never have to worry about me not being there. I will always be there. Yes, I do work a full-time job, but I do have a flexible schedule, and I can make whatever meetings that the city has, I can make them. I'm going to be there for Bartow. Some of the things that I would am advocating for Bartow is smart growth, historic preservation, technology, improving efficiency, and opportunities for our youth and development.
Thank you. Mr. Carter, same question. Will you have sufficient time to be an effective commissioner? And what will be your top priority?
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Yes, I will have efficient time to be a commissioner if elected, because my goals is to produce results, take responsibility, act with integrity, serve with dedication, and be efficient. And by me saying that is my goals is to increase pay for all of the city employees that we lack in pay, increase our amenities, update our amenities, produce smart growth within the city, and get the city more involved with the city and the growth of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the 10 structured questions. Now we'll allow a minute. I'm sorry, apologize. Mr. Clements. Yeah.
Thank you, Clifton. I think I have demonstrated that I have been able to and will be able to give an immense amount of time to being a city commissioner. When I was appointed by the mayor back in 2007 to lead the team to keep garbage out of our Cedar Trail landfill that's in the city limits of Bartow out off of E.F. Griffin Road, that literally took hundreds of hours of meetings, travel to Tallahassee, to Jacksonville, to Savannah, Georgia, and it was very, very time consuming, but the bottom line was we were not going to let any putrescible waste or garbage be put in the landfill in the city limits. And we were able to fight a multi-billion-dollar corporation and beat them back and win for the citizens of Bartow. As far as what I hope to accomplish, like I said, I want to get the fiber system expanded and upgraded for all the citizens, continue the paving and infrastructure build a new recreation facility with all the amenities that we need, swimming pool, ball fields, and all that. And it'll be great for our citizens for years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Clement. That wraps up our 10 structured questions. I think we'll allow a minute and a half for each candidate, if you choose, to give a wrap-up statement. Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. As you've seen, we've went through 10 questions. We've all had the opportunity to answer questions and give our answers effectively. At this time, I just ask on April 6th that you vote Sal Carter, because I will be someone that will act with integrity, take responsibility, serve with dedication, produce results effectively, remain humble, open, and transparent. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. Ms. Tucker, wrap up, minute and a half.
I just want to thank Bartow for giving us all this opportunity to talk to each of you tonight. I encourage everyone to come out to the event tomorrow on Central and talk to us individually about specific things that might not have been covered today. If I'm elected as commissioner, I will serve the citizens of Bartow. You can always come to me with any issues that you might have, and I will make sure that you get a resolution. I hope that you can see how much we care for Bartow. If we didn't, we wouldn't be up here. And I just thank everyone for all of the support and everything that I've had so far, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mr. Clements, minute and a half for wrap-up.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Clifton. Again, I would like to thank the Bartow Chamber and Main Street for putting this forum together, and invite everybody to come out tomorrow night. Be sure and wear your mask when you do come, and practice social distancing. This has really been the second campaign that I've had to mount since I've been on the City Commission. The first one I had 3 opponents, and this one I have 3 opponents. I see my opponents, the 2 that are up here with me, are fairly young, and I don't think that they have the experience that I have in dealing with the things that are facing the city right now. I applaud them for their efforts, and I would be glad to work with them in the future with appointments to different boards or things that they could get more experience in leadership positions and things of that nature. But I think I'm clearly the best candidate for this commission seat, and I thank the citizens of Bartow for the years that they have reelected me, and I will give you 3 more years if elected, and I appreciate it, and God bless everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Clement. This concludes the question for the at-large candidates. I want to thank all of the candidates for their commitment to the Bartow community, and we wish you well. We will now take a 15-minute recess to set up for the candidates for the Central District seat, and we urge our online audience to please take a short break and come back. We'll be back in about 15 minutes.